It's Booktubeathon time! Yay! For real though, I'm really excited. Last year was the first time I ever did the Booktubeathon, and I did not succeed in reading 7 books, but I did have a really good time, so I'm gonna try it again this year. And let's just get started. Let's just jump into this TBR. The first challenge this year is to read a book with yellow on the cover, and for this I've chosen The Legend of Pardeep Matthew. It sounds really interesting. I picked this up at a library book sale. I don't really know anything about it, but it does have yellow on the cover, and it sounds at the very least funny and entertaining. And generally sort of lighter books are good for the Booktubeathon because you can kind of binge them really quickly. So that's what I'm hoping with this. The second challenge is to only read a book after sunset. And I kind of wanted to do something spookier, something more horror-esque, but I didn't have a ton of horror books on my TBR shelf at the moment. But what I do have is the Barnes & Noble edition of everything Edgar Allan Poe, and I'm not reading this whole thing. Just throwing that out there now. What I am going to try to do, I'm going to try to read just the poetry in this, which is the first section. It's about 110 pages of poetry, and I feel like that's doable. Like 110 pages of poetry shouldn't be that bad. And then if I do that and I still have time after sunset, I might work my way a little bit into fiction, but we'll see how it goes. The third challenge is to read a book that you discovered through Booktube, and for me the obvious one for this challenge is to read The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende, and I discovered this through Ariel Basset's Magical Realism series, and it sounded really good, so I bought it pretty much right away. I started reading the first 60 pages, but I started reading other stuff and haven't gotten back to it, so I'm gonna try to finish this. This is the one that I'm a little bit worried about being able to finish in the Booktubeathon, but there always has to be one, I feel like, you know? The next challenge is to read a book by one of your favorite authors, and I happen to have The Giver Quartet on my shelf. I read The Giver back in like 8th grade, and I really loved it, but I haven't read it since, and I haven't read any of the sequels. So for this fourth challenge, I'm going to read The Giver, which is just the first book in the series. And it'll be exciting to reread it as an adult, because I haven't read it in a long time, and I remember really liking it, so that's been on my TBR for a while anyway. The next challenge is to read a book that's older than you are, and for this I've chosen The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, which is obviously older than I am, and I've been meaning to reread it forever, and it's not that long of a book, so it should be totally doable. The sixth challenge is to read a book with a movie adaptation, and the seventh challenge is just to read 7 books. And for this, I'm going back to The Giver Quartet, because the Giver movie was fairly recently posted to Netflix, which is very great and convenient, and I've been meaning to watch it, but I kind of wanted to reread the book first. In order to finish the 7-book challenge, because that's currently only like 5 books, I will continue on with The Giver Quartet with Gathering Blue and Messenger. Sun isn't technically included because that'll be 8 books. If I can get 7 done and then I need something else to read, I'll move right to Sun. But honestly, I don't feel like that's in the cards, but yeah, who knows. Anyways, that's my Booktubeathon TBR. I'm really excited to try this again. I had a lot of fun last year and I'm really looking forward to it. So I will be back in about a week. Bye!